Why, hello there, everyone. It's Jamie here, and wanted to share with you, as you see on screen, something I've been developing over the last month, which is an education system, a little bit of a course, or just a guide to help mostly myself sort through marketing. But as I started going through it and really kind of digging deep into what do I need in order to create better marketing campaigns moving forward, I realized that there was probably some kind of system that could be made. And so this is my kind of initial attempt and run through on building a marketing system. And this is something that I'm designing it for myself, as I said, but also for clients. And it's based on 20 years of working on my own business and working with other small businesses and mid-sized businesses, and seeing some of the frustrations, the confusion that goes on with marketing efforts, the things that get in the way, right? I mean, you go to build a website for somebody, but they don't have some of the basics that are needed ahead of that. And so I've really kind of focused on trying to build out a system that will be a step by step, so that when you get to the next step, you have all of the necessary requirements and checkboxes checked in order to get that done. Because there's nothing more frustrating than to go to do something and feel like you're just running into one roadblock after another. And that's an experience that I've kind of felt personally. I've seen it with clients, and it ultimately just leads in frustration. And then you kind of just throw your hands up and say, okay, well, now I got to get back to doing other stuff in my business or other responsibilities that I have. And it just never really gets done. So hopefully this will help you, and hopefully it helps me as well, to create a little bit of a system around developing marketing material, campaigns, ads. So ultimately, as I said at the top, eliminate confusion and frustration by creating a marketing system, step-by-step marketing system to identify, craft, and share your brand story. And ultimately, that's what I'm all about here at Pre-Shrunk. It's just been a little bit of a shift in the last little bit, but is shifting to helping just any organization identify, craft, and share their brand story. Something I'm very passionate about. I enjoy it. It's what I enjoy most, coaching and coming up with the consulting work. So we have this first phase, right? And trying to get down to the basics. If you're going to have a brand story, identify, craft, and share your brand story, the first thing is to identify it, to identify what those key attributes are. And when we go through this, you'll start to see why these things, why I started with these, because they're essential. You can't tell a great story without characters, right? And some kind of transformation. Think of every story you've ever heard or read or movies. They all kind of follow the same guiding principle, and it's known as the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, I believe, was the founder or identified or called it the hero's journey. But this is Star Wars, right? Luke goes on an adventure, meets these people that guide him through to cross over the threshold, to have some kind of transformation in his life. And ultimately, no matter what the organization is or does, whether you're in sales or service or you're a nonprofit, or just being a friend in a lot of ways, like our lives, we have these same principles that come into our stories, these same components that are available, or not available, wrong word, that are just present in our own story. And so we start off with an origin story. And this is something that whenever I start with a new client, I'm always asking, like, why do you exist? Why are you here? What was it that was happening in your world or in the world that prompted you to make the decision that you were going to start this organization? What were those early days like? What were your thoughts? What were the emotions, the vision? Why do you exist in the marketplace? And with founders, it's always fascinating. I think the most valuable and insightful information for marketing campaigns that I've ever done have all come from understanding what this origin story is. And I see it in my own work. I mean, when you start to really dive in and dig in and see, like, why did you start this? That tends to be the most true and authentic part of a brand story. And for building a great brand story, you want it to be true and authentic. And so that's a great place to start, is just identifying and uncovering your origin story. And if this is something that you want to do, the exercise that I'm going to have in the course is to just pull out your phone and start talking to it. You have 3 minutes to tell your origin story. Why does your company exist? Why does your organization exist? Why does the project that you're working on exist? and really dig deep and try to understand and communicate rather what it is that led you to start in the first place. So that's the origin story. And I'm going to have some other worksheets and things involved in the course, guidance, that's the word I'm looking for, guidance, to help you uncover that origin story. And then the next one that we move, once you have the origin story, who's the target audience? Because the target audience, they are Luke. In Star Wars, they are the hero. They're the hero of your brand story. It's not you, it's your target audience. And so we need to understand that target audience at a deep, deep level. We want to understand their desires, their fears, shared traits. They're going to give us great insight. I see I have a typo here. Will provide. That's supposed to be provide. I'll fix that in a second. But provide great insight later on in the campaign development process. Because we need to know, like I said, everything is to know about that target audience. We want to know what their hopes are, dreams of the future, current experiences, past experiences. As I say, like I ask random questions like where do they shop? Other things they buy. What things do they have in common? The more that we can identify those and start to create some, you'll likely have multiple target audiences or maybe segments of your target audience that have more things shared in common. But you start to identify those things and you figure out what it is that impacts their decision making, as well as where they want to go in the future. And that leads us right into the third one, 1.3. And these all are kind of linked up. And a lot of times the origin story will capture the target audience in the transformation because the person set out to help somebody, right? They wanted to help the target audience to see a transformation in their life or in their work. But it's important to call these out specifically because the transformation is moving that person from point A to point B. We don't need to overcomplicate it. There is a current state that the person's in, the target audience is in, and there's a desired future state. And so we need to know what those two things are, communicate to them and highlight, hey, we know where you are and where you want to go, and then provide them with that transformation. That's the offer. That's why our company exists, right? So even with this marketing system, if you're somebody that's been frustrated with your marketing, you're like, man, I don't know where to start. It seems like there's too many things. And when I get there, I'm lost. Then this is for you. You are my target audience. And what I want to do is help to move you from that place where you're struggling, you're frustrated, you're like, hell no, no more marketing, to a place when you're just like, okay, hey, got a campaign and we know what we need to do. We need to speak to a target audience. Here is some of the messaging that we use. Here are the brand colors that we use. And here's our transformation. Here's our brand promise. You're going to have all of those elements ready to go so that when you get to do them, it's effortless, it's repeatable, and it creates consistency, which is ultimately a huge thing that we all need to do well when we're telling a brand story, is to be consistent with it. So this is, as you see, a pretty powerful thing. And this is something we don't need to spend a ton of time on it up front. In fact, I want you to kind of get through it, just get stuff down on paper, get something to get started. This whole thing is about making progress. It's about moving forward and kind of continue to push forward. You're going to come back in 5 or 10 years and you're still going to be coming back and tweaking these. Hey, the target audience has shifted and now we notice this trait. Our research shows this insight that most of our customers do X. And so you're going to build upon this, you're going to revise it, but it's key just to have a starting point: origin story, target audience, transformation. Because once you have those things, all right, here's a little secret. I work in creative, and so many times people come and they're like, hey, can you make me a logo? Or can you design a web banner or whatever it may be, even promotional product. Go back to my promo product days. This was always a struggle. Because I wanted to connect the promos with business goals and with business messaging. And you need to have those top things, the origin story, target audience, and transformation, so that you could build that into the campaign. But we as designers, going back to what I started with before I got on a little bit of a rant there, we need some guidance, right? We don't want to just go off on our own because we know that that's not going to do any good long term. If you come to one vendor for a website, go to another one for promo products, another one for your in-store decorations, or if you're a restaurant, like packaging, if you do that and you don't have some guides, some guardrails up, you're going to run into where all of a sudden it looks like things are sort of the same, but it's not quite the same colors, the same fonts, the same messaging, and you really want that to be consistent. Great brand stories. You just don't want to do anything that raises a red flag, is how I always describe it. You want things to be consistent. So when you at a glance somebody looks and says, "Oh yeah, that's from Preshrunk," because those are the Preshrunk colors, or that's from McDonald's. Like, this food is from McDonald's. It's safe to eat. It doesn't look off, right? And so in phase 2, once you have those things, and you need to have those things before you can start looking at these things in phase 2, because they guide the decision making. The one-page copy guide, this is just taking all of the information that we gathered in the first phase and trying to boil it down to what are some of the key messages communicated in a way that resonates with our target audience. So with this, the thought process behind it, again, we'll have a worksheet that'll guide, and this is going to give you an asset that you can use to send to people and say, okay, here's our message. If we just have a headline, here would be our headline to our target audience for this segment. And then some of the other copy that goes in beyond it. But then also the other thing, you'll have some of those things that you can just kind of copy and paste. The other thing with the one-page copy guide is also capturing the tone, just your brand's personality. What are you trying to portray? Like, what traits do you have? Are you confident? Do you speak in a confident manner? Are you soft-spoken? All of those things play into then writing more copy in the future. So you're going to have a couple of examples, or you're going to have kind of the core messaging, as well as some guidelines on what the tone of the messaging should feel like. And with that, then you can write the copy yourself using this as a guide, or you can give it off to a copywriter to build out some copy. Or if you have just anybody within your organization, you can say, hey, here's the guide that we want to follow. So we're going to build out a copy guide. And then the second one is a brand style guide. And this is a very simplistic version. You see a lot of versions that are 10, 20 pages. And I think you should absolutely get to that point at some point. But again, this is the building steps. All you need is a one pager. Let's pick out some colors that work with your target audience. Let's pick out a couple of fonts that work together and that capture the right tone that we capture in that brand voice. And so we'll get a one-page style guide. Maybe you do some other things, but start small. Even if you just have font and colors, that's going to help the consistency of all of your marketing campaigns as you move forward. So that's phase 2. So phase 2 is really kind of starting to bridge the gap to put some templates in place, some guidelines in place to start to execute and to start to share it, right? Because if go back up here, identify, craft, and share. So the first phase, we're kind of identifying. Second phase, we're kind of crafting. And then the third phase, now this is, again, if you already have a website, maybe you can just revise it. But going back, now that you have those basics, now you start to create the places that your brand's going to live. And ultimately in 2021, it's a website is going to be your home base. Because if you have social media accounts, where are you going to point people to go to learn more? To your website. If you have a YouTube channel, where are you going to point people to go to learn more? To your website. You're going to continue to push traffic to your website, or you should push traffic to your website from wherever. So you need that home base that you plant the flag, and that's where your brand lives online. And so you can now create a website quite easily, a little one-pager with your brand copy guide, your brand style guide, and you have your target audience profile, and you have why your company exists and the transformation. You have your offer. Everything you need to create an awesome one-page website. And with that one-page website, we're going to start looking at goals. When people come there, you're going to start off, if you have a one-pager, you basically have 2 goals. Somebody can look and say, okay, yeah, I see they do the transformation. And then you have a contact or a get started page or a form that guides them to take the next step in your sales cycle. If they're ready to take that step, they do that. Your option B would be to get them to opt into other marketing options. And ultimately, I like to start with email list. I'm trying to collect emails. And you can say, hey, for more information, we send out more information like this on this topic, whatever your topic is. We try to provide education, insight. And so you get them to opt into your email list. And email is huge because it's something, again, you own. Just like your website, you own things. You don't want to rent on other people's land because sure, you have 50,000 TikTok followers, but if they go away, TikTok goes away, you lose them. So you need to start getting people into your marketing funnel so you have some kind of control over being able to access and communicate with them. And email is still probably the best way to do that. And so you build an email list, walk you through the gas steps of getting that started, as well as building in a form on your website to opt in. And then after you have that, the thing to enhance it, and this is what I have as the third one, is some kind of lead magnet. You probably have some kind of resource, guide, giveaway, some kind of insight that you have, some IP that your organization has that the person visiting would like to acquire. They'd like to have it as a resource. And so you'll add that in, and that is called a lead magnet because it helps attract people in to opt into your email list. So this is where I've gotten so far. Wanted to share the progress. I'll be continue to share the progress as we build along. If there's any changes, I think these first three are pretty set in stone because they're the essentials, right? You need to have a good story. You need to have the basic framework to create some marketing stuff. And then I think you should start with a website. If I'm starting from scratch, I'm going to create a website before I start to spend too much time on other things. And I guess that's the other thing to highlight with this marketing system. The goal is, as I said, to continue to knock off small tasks that move you forward, but to retain focus and to really take it step by step. Check off the box before you move to the next one. Check off the box before you move to the next one. And this is all based on my personal experience, my professional experience as a marketer, as a business owner, to ensure that just the flow goes, that you continue to kind of build upon it and get that momentum going, which is so important to get a great outcome. So that's where we are with the marketing system. I'll continue to do more updates on this. We'll have some worksheets. So if you're interested, you can go to preshrunk.us and then you can sign up to be alerted whenever I have new information. So that is my opt-in. There you go. My lead magnet into my email list. So check out that at preshrunk.us. Thanks, and I'll let you know when I have another update.